Okay, part two. Now, I figured out I've got about 15 minutes of space on the phone, so I know how long I can go before I have to shut it down. Anyway, here's the continuation of the story. I should backtrack a little bit. Prior to connecting with this auctioneer and going to work for him, I had an experience actually. It's kind of funny. I never had very much luck with women. Um, I'm just not a guy that they really want to be with. And so I've been rejected a lot. And in fact, right now I'm kind of recovering from a rejection. I was rejected recently. So anyway, and that didn't turn out very well because the lady I was interested in had some addiction issues and stuff, and it wasn't good anyway. But I think her addiction issues factored into it quite a bit. But it is what it is. It happens. I don't wish her any bad luck or anything, and you know, it just is what it is. But I'm a little heartbroken over that, but it is what it is. Everything happens for a reason. Um, anyway, what happened though was a few years before I started to work for the auctioneer, I met this other woman by chance, not the same one I just spoke about. And what had happened was her car was disabled on the side of the street. She was trying to get it started and she couldn't, and I helped her with that. It turns out she needed a battery. I had connections in scrap yards and whatnot, so in those days I could get parts really cheap because I was friends with a guy that owned a scrap yard, and I had connections to different scrap yards anyway, and because of being in the scrap metal business. And anyway, I was able to get a battery for her car. I went out to her house and put the battery in. It turns out it was really her mother's car. She had gotten divorced and she was living with her mom. She had some kids and she was trying to get her life back together. Anyway, I had a crush on her. And when I got out to the house there, to her mother's house, I saw where there was a lot of things needed to be done. And, the weeds were growing up that you could hardly see the house, and there was a lot of garbage and things on the property and stuff. And there were buildings there where the lady had chickens and ducks and geese and things, and the buildings were falling down. And I'm pretty handy, so I was able to help with that. And I kind of started helping around there just as an excuse to be around because I was sweet on the daughter is what it was, really. So maybe my motivations weren't the best, but that's how it started anyway. Nothing came of it between myself and the daughter. She wasn't interested either. Me and the daughter are still very good friends, though. Um, anyway, that situation started out with me helping out just as an excuse to be around so that I could be close to the daughter and get to know the daughter. That turned into a job. And I ended up working for that lady for a few years. And basically, I kept the property up. I kept the buildings up. I repaired the buildings. I rebuilt a small tractor, like a lawn tractor that was on the property, and got it working and used that. Cut all the weeds down with a scythe and then cut the grass with the tractor, and I kept that up and kept that going and kept the property looking nice. And I'd help out sometimes with the watering and feeding of the birds and all that. And when there was an issue with one of the small buildings there, I'd look after that and so on. And I did that for a few years. The mother of this girl that I had met, she was a really nice person. She was one of the most decent people I ever knew, really, and she was another one who was really kind to me, and another one who I miss quite a bit. That job ended just before I started working for the auctioneer, because she moved up north. She sold up and she moved up north to where she originally came from. And so that job came to an end anyway. And then that lady passed away a few years later from cancer. And so she's gone now too. Like I say, I'm still good friends with her daughter. Like I say, we just love each other. We don't love each other romantically like I had hoped originally, but we care a great deal for each other anyway, and we're really good friends. Anyway, getting back to the auctioneer, I went to work for the auctioneer. Things were pretty good for a while. The auctioneer ended up, he got the job of selling a house. And of course, I had been out there to the house because I was working for him. I'd seen the house and so on. And I went to the auction. I wasn't working that night, but I did go to the auction because I wanted to watch the house sell. I really liked the house. I wasn't in a position to buy it yet, though. I was getting there, but I just wasn't there yet. And anyway, that house, the minimum bid was $60,000. Nobody came to bid. There was a few people like me that just came to watch, but nobody came to bid. It ended up that he bought the house for $60,000, and then he offered to rent it to me. So I gave my notice, and where I was in the apartment with the bad landlord, and I moved into the house and I started renting the house. And the deal was that I could stay in the house and pay the rent there as long as I wished to. He said that he'd hang on to the house because it would be an investment. Even if anything happened to him, it'd be a steady source of income for his wife, the rental money and stuff. So that's how it was. So now I was working for this guy, and he was also my landlord, and he was also a friend. Well, what had happened was, of course, my health isn't good, and then when we were going to jobs, the men were all smoking in the trucks and everything, and that was making me quite sick. And, anyway, things were happening like that. And I ended up eventually resigning because I was sick all the time. I was just terrible sick, from the smoking in the trucks and everything. And I wasn't getting very many hours anyway towards the end. And so I resigned from the job, but I was still renting the house. And as far as I knew, we were still good, as far as we were still friends and stuff. Then, of course, the housing bubble came, and real estate value shot through the roof. And the auctioneer, his business changed too quite a bit. And he decided to move his base of operations out of this area. He still has some presence here, but he's mostly now up north of here. And so he sold up a lot of his properties here, whatever he had here. Practically all his properties, except 2 of them, he sold up. And my house was one of them. Anyway, there were some lies told by him at the time, to me and to the buyer. The buyer thought that I was in a position to buy the house, but what had happened was, the van that I had, I'll have to backtrack again a bit. In 2018, I was still working for the auctioneer. I didn't resign until 2019. The old van that I was driving died on me. And at that point, it was getting pretty rough. There was a lot of problems with it, and it really wasn't worth putting any more money into. And the auctioneer that I worked for, he had a friend that sold trucks and cars and things, and he told me, he said, this guy's a great guy, salt of the earth, honest as the day is long, and so on. And so I trusted the fella based on that, and I bought a truck from him, and I got taken advantage of really bad, and I lost a lot of money. Now, because I wasn't getting very many hours with the auctioneer, I'd started a little business. I was cleaning up properties, and I was doing really well. I was making a lot of money, and the people I was working for were happy. And in fact, I was getting a lot of referrals. So I had 3 other jobs lined up. I just finished one job, and I had 3 more jobs lined up when my van died, and I needed to get a vehicle right away, and I didn't have any way to get around to look at vehicles or anything. And so I ended up buying this truck on the recommendation of my boss. And the man who sold me the truck was a bad crook anyway. And I found out after the fact that he had stolen a lot of money from a lot of people in this area with vehicles. I ended up going $5,000 into debt. And then I wasn't getting very many hours with the auctioneer. And the price of heating oil was through the roof. And I didn't have a vehicle. I couldn't make money with a vehicle anymore. I lost all that work that I had lined up, which would have been a lot of money, a lot of work, and probably would have led to more jobs. Lost all that, basically lost the business that I was building. And winter came, and I had to start heating the house on credit because I didn't have the money to pay to heat the house. And so I went deeper in debt. And so I basically maxed out my credit cards and my line of credit and everything, spent my savings. just basically because of the truck and because of the heating of the house. And the house wasn't insulated, so the heat was going right out. I was banking the snow up against the walls, and after a couple of days, the snow would melt a couple inches away from the walls. That's how much heat was going out for the walls, and it was oil heat. It was quite expensive. Anyway, he sold the house. The new landlord, the new owner, thought that I was going to buy the house because that's what he had been told. Turns out, no, I was in no position to buy the house. All I had was debt. I had no money. And so I ended up losing the house. It was sold out from under me. It wasn't the new owner's fault. That just happens sometimes. He was lied to just like I was lied to. I have no hard feelings towards him. I really don't even have any hard feelings towards the auctioneer that did it, although I'm not happy that he did what he did. I think it was dirty. And I don't think you treat your friends that way. And apparently we were friends. So I'm not happy that he disrespected me and lied to me. But still, it is what it is. And again, everything happens for a reason. You know, I keep coming back to that. And I keep coming back to it because it's true. So on the 30th of July, last year, 2021, I was on the street with 2 cats. I had Rocky, and I also had his sister from the same litter. Beautiful big black and white cat. She looked like a cow, and I actually called her Muella. That was her name, Muella. Wonderful little cat, anyway. Well, actually, she was a big cat, but you know what I mean. I ended up camping in a tent in the woods behind Walmart. Did that for a couple weeks. Then a real good friend of mine who I met actually through the auctions when I was working for the auctioneer, he invited me to come out and camp on his family homestead, which is what I'm doing now. And so it's better here, it's safer here. When I was camped behind Walmart, we had problems with bears and everything. It wasn't a good situation. Nighttime got pretty scary at times. So again, I'm grateful to these people for helping me like they have. His mother, who actually owns the property, has been really good to me. These people don't owe me anything, yet they've gone out of their way to help me, and I'm very appreciative of it. Anyway, again, another example of how God provides, really. I am a believer in God. I understand that not everybody here listening is. I respect each individual's right to their own beliefs. This isn't me pushing religion on anybody or pushing Jesus on anybody or anything like that. But yes, just so you know, I'm a believer in Jesus. And I do believe that Jesus has come through for me many times. I took a bad turn a couple months ago and I nearly died. And they refused to help me at the hospital because I won't wear a mask. And I really can't wear one anyway because of my lungs. I had a lot of people praying for me and I came out of that. I was actually making farewell videos for the people I loved because I thought I was going to die. That's how bad it was, and everybody that knew me, that saw me, thought I was going to die. People were really worried about me. But I came out of it, and I'm feeling a lot better now. But, yeah, I mean, like I say, I've been unlucky in a lot of ways, but I've also been very lucky. My goal now is to get my debts paid down, which I'm gradually working on. Slowly but surely. Get my debts paid down. I want to buy a truck, and I want to go back to cleaning properties because I'm good at that. And I know I can make money doing it. And, I want to do something that I'm good at. I want to do something where I'm being of some service to the community. I want to do something where I'm useful. I don't like sitting around. I like to be useful. I like to be working. I like to be doing something. I like to be earning my keep. And so that's my goal anyway, is I want to get myself a truck again. I want to go back to work. I want to start my business up again that I lost a few years back. And at some point in the future, I want to be out of this homeless situation. I still have the hope of possibly buying a piece of property somewhere, maybe living off grid on it or whatever. right now housing is so expensive, I don't think I'll ever really be able to afford to buy a house. Not anymore. I think those days are over. For guys like me, I think they're over. Even buying a truck is going to be hard because vehicles now are terrible expensive. But that's my goal anyway. If I can buy a little piece of property somewhere and build some sort of a little shack on it or something and do some off-grid living, that's what I'm going to do. Around here it's not exactly legal, so I may have to leave this area in order to get away with it and go more to an unregulated area. There are still some unregulated areas north of here. I don't want to go north, but I might have to. And the real estate is a little cheaper up there too, so... Anyway, right now I don't know. We'll see. I keep having to push my glasses up here. In my last video, I may have given a bad impression of my dad, and I really don't want to do that. I should say that my dad was an honest man. He was a hard worker. He paid his bills. And in many ways, he was good to me. I know he loved me. And he was dealing with a lot of demons is all. And he had a bad temper, and he could be violent. But he was a good man, and he had a kind heart. I seen him do things for people that you wouldn't believe some of the things that he did for people. And so I just want to say that to end this video. I don't want to leave it with people thinking that my dad was some sort of a monster or something, because he certainly wasn't. And I found out about a lot of stuff after he passed away that I had no idea about. Things that he had been put through when he was a boy and a young man and so on, and horrible things. So I understand him better than I did when I was young. I've forgiven him for any wrong that he did where I was concerned. I understand it. I know he never meant to hurt me in any way. And, he worked hard and he provided for me when I was growing up. And life wasn't easy for him, but he got up every day and he did what he had to do. And I admire that about my dad. And I admire that he did have a good heart. Anyway, I'm getting all emotional again, so I'll cut it off here. I should mention that my little cat Muella, I don't want to leave any loose ends. My little cat Muella was killed the second day that I was here by a fisher. She's now buried here behind the property. She's buried over here. I think I showed you before, but I'll bring you over and show you again. She's buried right here. I don't know what you can see because I got the camera facing the other way. This is her bowl. I put her bowl on her grave. I spent the day after she was killed beating my way through the thorn bushes and everything looking for her. And I found her back there. Her head had been taken off. I never did find her head. But, yeah. Apparently fishers would do that. They take the head and they drink the blood. They're a member of the weasel family of fisher. That's what happened to my little girl Muella anyway. And I do miss her. And, yeah. Anyway, that just to answer that question, if you're wondering why I only have one cat. Now, that's the reason. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening to my story. I hope I didn't annoy you too much. I hope I didn't bore you or anything. That's just a synopsis. A lot of other things happened, but, over the course of a lifetime, a lot of other things will happen. But that's just a synopsis, and that just explains how I came to be where I'm at now. And, I just figured some people might be kind of watching my videos and saying, what's this guy's deal? Why is this guy living like this? What's going on with this guy? So I just wanted to let you know that's what's going on. That's how it all happened. That's what's going on. Anyway, I'm up to 19 minutes now. I'm sure I'm living on borrowed time with this phone. I'm going to run out of I'm going to run out of space. I'm sure I am. So I'm going to cut it off here. As I said, thank you all for listening. To all the people who have subscribed to my channel, thank you for that. It's nice to know that people are taking somewhat of an interest in what I'm doing. And, yeah, anyway, talk later.